Morning, Harold just began. I'm
Oh, there you are. Hi, Kasia.
how are you? With the Hollywood Critics Association, I have my own Side Couple Soul show, as well as I'm a contributor for the Philadelphia Tribune here in Philadelphia.
Oh,
Just so you know who you're speaking to.
yes. Now,
Longtime fan. Let's talk a little bit about you. Um,
okay.
you don't do you don't shy away from work, from the heavy stuff, like from Oz, and even in the Best Man, everybody else gets to kind of like have no relationship issues. You get the girlfriend that's 160 degrees, not like terrifies everything about you. What informs your choices, and is that something that you like doing, where you're like, I wouldn't be this person in real life, but I get a chance to vicariously live through this character?
Uh, I think you're absolutely right. Like a lot of the things that I get to do when I'm working are things that I wouldn't normally do in real life, but I get this chance to live through it. And it's the thing I've talked about throughout my career that it helps me be more empathetic to other human beings because sometimes like I literally get to walk in the shoes of somebody that I might not have understood otherwise. And you know, it's been a choice that I've made since the beginning of my career. I don't always, especially early on, I don't always have the choice. Like I audition and I get what I get. But as it's been going on, as the years have gone on, like I do certainly choose things that maybe aren't the easiest character to inhabit or the easiest person to like or care about or but I do like it and it's really helpful to me personally and as an artist I think it's the thing that I do well.
Absolutely. And I think, and also, how do you find the humanity? Because again, your character on Oz, you're dealing with a whole bunch of psychotic people. Like he really, like really, and on top of that, he was in a wheelchair. And then you have all of this going on, and
Right.
it's, I mean, it's not a show that was light. There were
Right.
very maybe small pockets, but it really
Right.
was full throttle. So how do you maintain like your sanity amidst something like that? Because that's kind of hard to step into and then just be like, cut, I'm going to now have breakfast.
Right. Right. Those things this is not untrue. This is very true. Again, you know, there are lots of opinions in our democracy, right? There are lots of points of view. And I find that many people just like they choose a side, it's really black or white, it's this or that. But like I believe we really, really are humans. And in many instances, like you're talking about Oz, being a black man in America, there but for the grace of God. Like I could easily be in any one of those positions. And so I just asked myself the questions in that circumstance, given that I would be in that circumstance, what would I do? Because I really could. I could have been at any point when I was a teenager hemmed up in the legal system over something that really was stupid or me trying to survive or something. And then there I am. And then another accident puts me in a chair and then another, you know what I mean? I know people I'm around people, all these things could happen. Or, I could get a scholarship to a college and go on and thrive and be a lawyer and meet a stripper and fall in love. Like all of it could happen. And so, I just ask myself as a human being, like, what choice would I make? Even when I feel like they seem really impossible, I have to ask how I might get there. I had to once play a pedophile and I thought, there's no way I can get there. I can't find it. I won't be able to find it. And then I started reading these articles about these people who were groomed from childhood by adults and that their point of view was based on how they were groomed foundationally. And I thought like, oh God, what if my parents had raised me and that was my end? You know what I mean? Like I always have to ask myself, how would I get there if I could get there? Could I not? Where do I adjust my point of view and find theirs? And so, again, like I said, it really helps me to humanize. Certainly there are people I disagree with. Certainly there are lifestyles that I'm like, nope, not for me. But I don't disregard a person's humanity. And I feel like that's what acting really helps me do as a person walking in this crazy country that we live in.
Absolutely. Well, currently we're talking about From, and again, you don't do
Yes,
light, right? Once in
right,
a while you do. And your character is wound super tight.
Right.
He's trying to keep everybody together and everybody understanding the mission. Number one, to stay alive. Number two, to figure out how to get out of this matrix, right?
Right.
And human beings being what human beings are, they're going to do what they want to do. Like, even from the first episode, like, his reaction isn't like, oh, we lost someone. His reaction is like, I told him not to do this. Why is, like, how many more examples do you need?
Right.
And how do you prepare for that? Because it is, again, he doesn't have, he's the leader, for lack of a better word. He doesn't have necessarily someone he can call. There is no tapping in, how do we fix this? Because it's an ongoing, evolving situation. So what was your point of reference? How did you start in order to relate to this guy?
You know, for me, I started with this idea that what happens if the buck stops with me? If the buck stops with me, and this is what I think we need to do, what happens then? And so in that instance, for Boyd is not Harold. So Boyd doesn't have the kind of like, oh, I'm going to be open. Boyd is like, I got something to do. And he's a man of service. I really believe he's a man of service. And so there is a larger community that needs a kind of guidance or way, or at least a path. Even if it's the wrong path, we have to try a path. And the buck stops with Boyd. And so for Boyd, there's no like, oh, I just felt a little way about it. It's like, you follow the rules or you suffer the consequences. There's no, we don't play with that. At least that's what I think he tried to do. And then, like, especially like in that first episode, you know, he really was really angry with, you know, with that guy. He was really like, yeah, you're going right into the box. But then, you know, he had some questions about like, oh, you know, should I not? I know I put it there, but you know, it's a thing I used to do with my kids. You don't want me to get that belt, but I didn't really want to get the belt. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, but like, yeah, I think with Boyd, the buck stops with him, and he has to make, you know, he just, the one thing I connect with, I feel I'm a very responsible person, and Boyd is also very responsible. And I'm going to get you out, and you're going to listen, or you're going to suffer the consequences, and we're going to move on without you. So I think that's how we get there.
Absolutely. And also, he's not only, he's dealing with so many different things. There are new people coming into the equation. Then he's got to keep the people that are there on the mission. And he's got to keep the people there that he's kind of lost, because technically, I mean, even they can't go anywhere, right? No matter, I mean, they can go somewhere, but then they're done. But it's all these different dynamics that make this show so intriguing. And then on top of all of that, with all the trying to keep everybody kind of like working towards the mission, you're dealing with things that you don't know what it is. You know that it's deadly. You don't know, like, is there like a leader amongst that? Is there some way to negotiate it? Or is this a puzzle and you haven't figured it out? It's so many what ifs that it makes the show not just intriguing because of the people and how they react to it, but how do we combat the thing? You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
Was that an appeal for you in terms of like just wanting to dive into this?
It really was, because, you know, one of the things that actually helped me with is this catharsis for me of what we're going through in our country, especially like with the pandemic and all these divergent points of view, and like people who just want to live and people who want to be safe. And it's just like, and like, you know, people's right to do whatever, infringing on other people's right to do whatever. Like, so for me, it was really helpful and cathartic to think about those things when you like consider the town where I'm running things, and the colony house where they have their own way of doing things. And, you know, instead of like letting their liberties infringe on ours, we go like, okay, then you go over there. You go there, you do your thing. And then if it works out for you, good luck. Don't bring it over here, because over here we have the rules. And so it was, for me, the whole thing has been really intriguing to dive into all those questions. I feel like I was doing it a lot during the pandemic with my kids and with people, and we were having, you know, definitely this racial reckoning happening in our country. So all those things were all happening, and I felt like they all transferred really well to what was happening in From. It made it really alive because I was dealing with those things presently. And so for me, it's like From came at the right time for me as an actor, because I could just transfer a lot of those feelings and make them really present for Sheriff Boyd and for the audience thereafter.
And the other nice thing is just to see, like, as a Black man, that you are in a position of leader. Like, your character has agency and
Right.
he has layers. You know, too often, you know how we always like to say, it's a good day when the Black man gets to live. Like, he's not the first one that we might make it out of this thing, right? So
Exactly.
talk about that too, because, you know, often these things we're like, come on, really? Like, we couldn't even last the whole episode.
Right.
You get to, not only are you living, but you have a vital storyline. Did you feel like the industry, especially with all the different avenues of work, before it was like the 3 channels, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had like the studios, and that, do you feel like that it has opened up the creativity, more opportunities for you as an actor, having more venues? It seems like more specific people are comfortable getting 10 good episodes versus the 22. You know, and then kind of like, and also the conversation around the show on social media, you have people saying, wow, really? I didn't see that coming. Right. How has that all impacted you in terms of the work that you're getting and the opportunities you're getting?
I think, you know, all of those things combined, like the proliferation of new avenues for me to do work, that's been a really great big blessing. And like I talked about before, the sort of racial reckoning in our country, that's also been a really great blessing, because then it's opened up the door for artists like myself to match with artists who are coming and writing things. Like, I don't know that they necessarily pictured me when they first wrote Boyd, but I know that when I always knew, you know, from my career, that that's a character I could play, because like you said, quite often you'll see an African-American actor, male or female, and they lack a certain amount of agency. They're gonna die pretty soon. They're there for comic relief. They're there for the sympathetic, whatever. But actually having responsibility and agency is something that I've been talking about in my career often. And sometimes, you know, I've dealt with writers who just don't know, somehow the color of my skin made them think like, but you can't do, I mean, you can't really lead, can you? Like, it's a weird, like, you know, like an NFL quarterback, like, ooh, can the Black men lead? Like, yes, they can. Yes, we really, really can. So it's a great time to collaborate with, you know, John Griffin, who wrote our show, and Jack Bender and Jeff Pinkner, who are great showrunners. And then we all get in there as, you know, people who are same-minded and go like, yeah, now how do we take this Black man and let him do the thing without it necessarily being necessary of my skin color? But like, he's a man on a mission trying to save these people. And that's the thing we always try to talk about. I've always tried to talk about throughout my career. I'm just a man like any other man. Like, there's no like it's not, I can't do this or I can't do that. I'm just a man like any other man. And so for me, it feels really great in this time when there is a proliferation of networks and TV, like to get to play all these characters that maybe weren't available just 10 short years ago, you know? And so I'm really excited about it and happy about it. And, you know, that I get this opportunity to do it with From is something that I take great pride, and there's a lot of joy for me. I really enjoy it.
And it's also this type of show that it's a water cooler conversation. You know, Black Twitter is like, wow, or, you know, that type of thing.
Right.
But one of the things that I'm not a person who necessarily likes the gory, scary movies. I like this type of stuff where I don't necessarily, I know it's going to happen, and I know it's going to be like, or, you know, there's going to be a character that I like that I'm rooting for. And then it's like, really? That person died? Not that other person that really needs to, is in the way. How's the fan reaction been for you? Because I know that, you know, our community, we like to talk to the TV, you know what I mean? Or when we see you out in public, we'll be like, really, man? You couldn't have done something about that? How's been the fan reaction?
The fan reaction has been just that. And I'm with you on the gore. I don't normally like it. But because I'm in this show, I've been not only have we been live tweeting, but I've had folks come over to the house, and I didn't realize how much fun it is to watch these gory things with your friends, because they are like, get out of here, man. You better, I can't believe Father Kotry, they need to kill Sarah. She needs to go. It's so fun and so funny that it makes watching horror a way different experience than what I thought it was going to be. And so the fan reaction has been really, really fantastic. You're right. They come up with all kind of like crazy, like, who is that dude? Like, the one thing that made me laugh so bad is when in episode 7, the character lets in a woman because like he like loves her, and everybody was like, hold up. You in a house where you could get anything you want, and you had to I laughed so hard. Like, I just kept reading people on Twitter and my friends, and so the fan reaction has been amazing and so fun, and it made me really happy to be part of this horror thing that I didn't think I liked at all, but it is really funny, and it's a big joy for me. All year has been super funny. As people discover it, they discover it, and they're coming up to me and saying even more stuff. And so I really enjoyed all the fans and their reactions. It's been good.
Speaking of the scary stuff, do you know, is it on the page, or are you as surprised as we are? Because we definitely are. Like, I definitely feel like watching this again. I'm definitely the person like, he just told you not to do it, and then we just had all this stuff happen, and here you go making it worse. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm really having that conversation with my TV where I'm like, and is the tension on the page, or are they like holding some back to get a more natural reaction out of you guys, so that it is that element of surprise, or is it a combination of both?
It's a combination of all of it. Some of it, like for instance, we didn't know what any of what the creatures looked like kind of until we saw them. But they were developing that thing. The special effects artists and the director, they were all developing it. So I don't think they were hiding it necessarily. I think they were figuring it out. And so when we first saw it, it was like, oh snap, okay, that's creepy. And so there is a certain amount of like a fright when you're on the show, and there is a certain amount of tension, which is really good. But we're also working, and so we're finding ways to like, you're really scary. Could you go stand over there? Well, great. You know what I mean? Like, so all of it combined, and then they just go into the room and they just edit it and make and make magic out of it. So it's a real it's a real community effort, and that's what I really like about it.
Where would you like to see Boyd go? Because it is always on 10. It is very rarely on 2 or 5 for him. You know what I mean? Right, understandably so. But where would you like Boyd to go?
Look, for the fans, I wanted to just keep getting crazier and crazier. Ultimately, I want him to win. Ultimately, I want him to figure this whole thing out. But I recognize that it's going to be at a lot of personal costs. You know what I mean? Like, he's got his own illness that he has to deal with, and his own psychosis that he has to deal with. And so I don't really sort of pick where I want it to go. I know that ultimately I want him to win. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I know that's what I want for him. But I recognize that he's going to probably struggle through a lot more stuff that he hadn't expected to struggle. I mean, the man is stuck in a tree right now. Who gets stuck in a tree?
I didn't want to say it, but I'm like, things are not looking well for him.
Right. Like,
and
your whole life, could you go like, one day I might get stuck in a tree. Like,
exactly. Yeah, I want to thank you so much for taking the time out to talk with me.
Thank you.
I think you're fantastic. I've been a long-time fan. And I hope Brother Boyd makes it out the tree, and I hope he gets pockets of levity, because it is like if they ever do get out, he's going to be out of his mind. He's not going to be able to appreciate the fact that they're out. You know what I mean? And
Right.
we don't want that for him after he has done all of this work. You know,
Right.
so that's what I was thinking. I was like, God, I hope if they do make it out,
Right.
he's in the moment so he can
Right.
appreciate that they're out and stuff. But thank
We'll
you
see what
for
happens.
taking the time out to speak with me this morning. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank
Take care.
you.